Hello, everyone. Welcome in today. Today, we're going to go through my top 50 prospects, and I want to get this out prior to the combine. I'm going to update it again, probably in middle to late March, and then we'll do it just before the draft in April. Hopefully, by then, I'm able to get up to like a top 100 or a top 150. We'll see. Right now, I think I have 82 guys on the board that I've fully, or 84 guys that I've put eyes on and have been able to put a grade on. But let's go ahead and jump right in. At number 50, I currently have Elijah Arroyo, the tight end out of Miami. Now, this is based a lot of kind of on potential because I don't think he's there yet, but I think he has the potential to do better in the pros than he did in college. At number 49, it's Mason Taylor, the tight end out of LSU. He's a solid, steady player, and I expect him to be a good player in the NFL. I just don't think he has the traits to be an elite player in the NFL. At 48, this one's somebody that I'm a lot lower on than I initially was, and that's Jack Sawyer. Sorry, I'm still recovering from being sick here. I just got my voice back, and I'm still stuffy and all that. As I was saying, he's just lower than I expected him to be. He's going to be a good pro. I had him where I was mocking him in the first round for a little while, and now I'm not so sure he's going to get there for me. At 47, it's Michael Williams. Now, he's really, really low on my board. I got to be honest with you, I haven't been that impressed by him, but he's going to probably get what I call a boom bust grade at the end, which means he's going to get a boost because he is somebody that has such high potential. So he'll go higher than his tape grade and what I grade him. So he's going to be somebody that'll move up after the combine. I just want him to confirm whether or not he has the athleticism that everybody thinks he does, the wingspan, the length. And then once that's all confirmed, he'll probably move up my board. He won't be a top 10 player like he's being drafted by a lot of these guys. Basically, I have a little equation I run where I put this is what he looks like. So, like, for example, you factor in his combine, all that, and it's like he has the build to be a top 10 draft pick. So I'd grade him with a top 10 grade, and then I factor that in with his tape grade. That spits out a grade that'll go into his final grade area. And then from there, he can move up the board accordingly. He's still probably going to be maybe top 30 for me at best. I'm just not as high on him. He's a good player. I just think he hasn't shown it. And I know he wasn't healthy this year and he has all the tools to be great, but he's somebody I'm just not comfortable taking that high. And there are people that saying he's a blue chip player in this class. He's a solid first round pick. And I wouldn't take him in the first round of every draft. And I think that they're lying to themselves thinking that. And because this is a weaker draft class, they're talking themselves into a toolsy guy that might be able to reach potential. He's a boom bust guy, though, in my opinion. Right now, I have the two Ohio State running backs back to back, Quinshawn Judkins and Travion Henderson. We'll see if they separate themselves. I still have more tape to watch. I don't always have all 22, so I use a lot of TV copies. I found a website where I can go back and watch TV copies to do a lot of my initial grades. And then once I go back through with all 22, I regrade them based off of that because you get better angles on all 22. It tells you a little more. You can see the gaps for running backs. It's just a better angle to actually evaluate players. As I go through and I get all 22 tapes that I can confirm everything I see, you're going to see their grade goes final and it becomes dark. It gets boldened out. That means I've watched at least 3 to 4 of their games. Either way, on to the next one. At 44, I got Azariah Thomas, the cornerback out of Florida State. Good player. I think he's going to be somebody that might be able to move up my board with a good combine. Trey Amos is up next. I really love his length, man. He's going to be somebody that's going to be able to climb up my board, I think, as well, possibly. At 42, it's Alec Ao Manor. I know I'm kind of in the minority here, but I really like him. I think he's a good player. I think he's going to be a solid second-round draft pick, and I think he'll be a good pro. At 41, I got Siobhan Ravel. Now, he's somebody that once medicals come back on, he could probably go up my board because I really like him, man. I just think the medical, the torn ACL is going to be a big question for him. At 40, it's Donovan Azaraku, the edge out of Boston College. He's somebody that's not as tall as you'd like, but he has the length. I think he had 34-inch arms at the Senior Bowl. I haven't updated all that yet. I like to use the combine measurements because that's what the teams will base it all off of. He's a really interesting edge player. He's not built like a normal edge, but he has the tools to be able to be really great, and he was good at Senior Bowl as well. 39, it's Jahad Campbell. Now, I do expect his grade to probably go up as well. I watched, I think, 1 or 2 all 22 tapes of his, and my grade already increased. So as I get more, I think, and I eliminate the non-all 22 tapes, I think his grade's going to continue to climb. At 38, it's Tyleik Williams. Basically, in my opinion, 3-tech nose tackle out of Ohio State. Then at 37, a guy that I'm much higher on than I expected to be, that was JT Tuimoloau, the edge out of Ohio State. He's just a high floor guy, in my opinion. I think he's never going to be a number 1 edge rusher for a team. He's the type of guy that'll be a solid number 2. He's going to be able to push the pocket, bull rush. He's going to be good against the run. I really actually like JT Tuimoloau. At 36, it's Carson Schlesinger, the linebacker out of UCLA. He's somebody that climbed up my board once I got through his tape. I was really impressed by him. He is fast. He can go sideline to sideline. He does need to add a little bit of weight, and that's something that I don't know if he'll be able to. I don't remember his age. I can't remember off the top of my head. I haven't put it in my notes yet, but he's a good player. And he's somebody that I think will be a solid second round pick. At 35 is another shock for me, and that's Jalen Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia. Here's the thing, I know a lot of people are classifying him as an edge and saying he should be a top 10 pick. I can't get there with him. I don't see the traits that everybody else sees to play edge. Now, that may be able to change once he goes to the combine. If he measures in better than I think he will, maybe that'll adjust my opinion of him on the edge a little bit. I just don't think he's going to be an edge player, and I don't think he has the instincts as a linebacker. He, to me, is a tweener, and that's why I'm just much lower on him. I don't see the traditional pass rush plan. I see him as a blitzer and a spy making a lot of plays, which are great. But the problem is when you expect him to be a true linebacker, he's not very good. He doesn't have the instincts and coverage. And, that's something that he can develop. He may have a great work ethic. He's somebody else that I expect to probably attach that boom bust label to, and then he could probably climb up my board. At 34, it's Caleb Williams, the running back out of Iowa. Great, great player, man. I think he's going to be somebody that lands right in this range on my final board. I really liked him. Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina is up next. Now, he's somebody that I will admit I was lower on until I got into some all 22 on him. I think I've only watched one all 22 tape, though, for him, and I think he might actually end up climbing up my board here as I continue scouting. Sorry, guys. Once again, still not feeling great trying to get through this. At 32, it is Josh Connerly Jr., the tackle out of Oregon. He's a toolsy guy that's just not ready. And it's always kind of risky taking these guys in this range. So he might go a little bit higher than this. I just don't know that he's ready yet. At 31, it's a player that everybody loves, and it's James Pierce Jr. I don't think I'm going to attach a boom bust label to him because I don't see the bend in him that everybody else sees. I know I'm in the minority here, but I see him run past the passer far too many times. And if you have good bend, you don't do that. You're going to be able to get around the corner and you're going to be able to flatten and go in at him. And I just don't see him doing that as consistently as everybody says he does. I'm going to admit I'm lower than him. And this is probably where he'll finish up on my board. At 30, it's Calvin Banks. Now, he's somebody that I also think is going to climb up my board. I'm actually a lot lower on him than I expected to be. And I do have to, go through, like I said, when I watch all 22, I get it, and I watch all 4 games in a row, and then I attach a final grade to him. And he's another guy that once I watch games in a row and they actually stack together, he might go up. I think I've been a little hard on him. I think I looked at him as an interior guy, but the more I watch, I do question him as an interior player because I actually think strength is a little bit of an issue for him, and I don't think he has the sand in his pants to play guard. And I think he almost has to stick at tackle, which isn't a bad thing. It's just I don't know. I have questions about him a lot more than other people do. At 29, it's Nick Scorton, the edge from Texas A&M. And here's the thing, man. They're low on him. They've dropped him a lot of people around the NFL. I don't see why. Like, to me, this is lower than I expected to have him in my final rankings. There were some people that shocked me and I have above him. Or not final rankings, but pre-combine rankings. But like I said, as I pour through more tape and as I get more information, things are going to change here. Next up at 28 is his teammate, Shamar Stewart. He's a guy that I'm debating putting that boom bust label on. I just want to see his official testing, and then he might get that, and that could climb him up my board as well. He just doesn't have any production. I think he's more of an end around one guy just because he hasn't been able to produce. He produces a lot of pressures, but he doesn't finish. And you kind of need to get to the bottom of why that is. And then ahead of him is Armand Membu at number 27, the tackle or guard out of Missouri. I actually think he can stick at tackle. I think he'd be a solid NFL right tackle. He was actually really good at Missouri. And I'm actually in the process of watching his final tape right now. And I will be honest with you, I expect him to move up after this because he's really impressed me. I'm on tape 2, I think, right now. And his grade's already higher through the 2 games of all 22 than what I had it previously. At 26, it's Derek Harmon. He's a really good interior defensive lineman. I have some questions, though, about his body composition. He kind of has a weird shape to him. Like, he's not exactly the same as like a Dayon Walker, where his bottom's really thin. But he just has a weird composition. Like, I'm a big dude, so it's not like I'm trying to be mean here or anything, but he kind of has a bigger belly area, bigger upper body. He's built different than what you normally see a defensive player, or I mean an NFL player built like. At 25, it's Nick Emanwari, the safety out of South Carolina. I have linebacker listed there, but I think he can play deep, and I'll probably end up taking that designation off of there, especially since I moved him up my board so much. At 24, it's Gray Zabel. He played tackle at North Dakota State. He's going to play on the interior in the NFL. He had a really good Senior Bowl. He's kind of gotten a boost already from that. No players on here have gotten a boost from that other than him. He was just so low on my board because I don't have a lot of tape on him. It's really hard to find North Dakota State tape, and he did good against Colorado, but I was skeptical because it was 1 game. So I had him much lower. I did factor in the Senior Bowl already for him. He could drop, he can rise. We'll see how he does at the combine. At 23, it's Emeka Ibuka. He's like steady Eddie, solid receiver. I don't honestly, I hate to say this, but he's a guy that I would be shocked if he has a very short NFL career unless it's due to injury. Like he's somebody that I think can be a 10-year pro in this league, even if he ends up settling lower than we expect as like a wide receiver four or something. I don't expect that out of him, but he is just like he's already good. And that's something that I like about him. At 22, it's Matthew Golden, the Texas receiver. Here's the thing, man. A lot of people would think it's Isaiah Bond. Now, if you're watching this, maybe not. But I get a lot of comments about where's Isaiah Bond in my mock drafts and stuff. Like, he's not a first round guy. Matthew Golden's the guy you want. And he's honestly climbing up my board, I think. At 21, it's quarterback Shadur Sanders out of Colorado. Look, man, he doesn't have that top tier arm strength. He's not a top tier quarterback. And at the end of the day, he's a capable NFL starter. You just have to decipher if you think he's going to be more than Derek Carr. And that's kind of my question with him. I think if you get Derek Carr out of, he's gonna have a good NFL career. Like he's a good quarterback, but is he ever going to be able to get to the point where he's not a coach killer type deal? And I don't mean that in personality or anything like that. I simply mean it in the fact that Derek Carr just isn't as good as people want him to be, and you don't win because of him. I want to make sure, and my question is, Shadur going to be able to do that? Is he going to be able to get above that? Because to me, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Derek Carr. At 20, it's Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. He's a solid interior defensive lineman, man. He's somebody that's a really good penetrator. I had him in my previous early rankings behind Kenneth Grant, but as I finished tape, Kenneth Grant finished slightly above him. We'll see what the combine does for me in this final rankings, as that's a pretty tight race right there. They're both great prospects. At 18, I still have Luther Burden. Haven't finished his tape yet. A lot of people are moving him down, so I'm really curious whether that's a personality issue or when I get the all 22 tape on him to be able to finish it up. At 17, it's Tyler Booker, the guard out of Alabama. Look, he is a big mauling guy. He's somebody that I think you don't necessarily want pulling all the time because I do find him on the ground if I a little more than I liked when he was a puller, but man, he is just steady in the middle of of that offense. And I think he'll be a solid offensive lineman. Like, and I don't mean that as a dig, but in this class, there isn't a lot of top tier talent. That's how you get at 17 as a solid player. But man, you could do a lot worse than getting him in the first round, in my opinion. At 16, it's Mike Green, the edge out of Marshall, and he is really fun to watch. You know, there's just some questions about his length and level of competition, but he did really good against Ohio State and Virginia Tech, so I have a lot of faith in him. At 15, it's quarterback Cam Ward from Miami. Now, I haven't attached the final grades to either one of my quarterbacks because I like to watch minimum of 6 games, prefer to watch 8 games. I don't have quite enough to attach a final grade. And for quarterbacks, I had it in here, my early grades, and I decided to take them out because, it's quarterbacks. They carry a lot more weight than everything else. So I don't want to show the gap I see between these guys right now. Until I finish up my tape grade, things can change. At 14, it's Jade Barron, the corner slash, I'm probably going to be in a slot, in my opinion, in the NFL. But if you look at a guy like Brian Branch, like you see the value that brings to a team. So that's why I'm putting him up the board so high. At 13, this is somebody I'm very high on. And I could see it maybe changing as I get more film because I don't have all of his tape done yet. But it's Princely Umami the edge out of Ole Miss. Here's the thing, man. I think he's just like James Pierce in a lot of ways. But I think he already has the weight that you like. I think he already has a little bit more bend. And honestly, I see him the same against the run, and that's why he has a higher grade for me. I don't know, man. Right now, with the early grade, I'm high on Umami Allen. You do have to factor in his age. He didn't have a standout Senior Bowl, which I was hoping he would, so that'll probably factor in as well. We'll see what he does at the combine, though, whether I keep him this high. At 12, it's Benjamin Morrison. He's another guy that right now, he's really high on my board, but when medical information starts to come out, if it does at all, he's going to drop. Right now, he's this high simply based on tape, no injury factored in. We'll see if that ends up hurting him in the final rankings, but man, he's a really fun player to watch. It's just how big of an injury question is he going to be? At 11, it's Will Johnson, the corner out of Michigan. He was somebody that I am quite impressed by in the summer, but then as I watched his fall tape, I wasn't quite as impressed and I dropped his grade down. We'll see. I got to finish up his tape grade this year. I think I have 2 more games to watch of his. He is definitely somebody that I expected a little more out of. but I'm trying not to be too hard on him for that reason alone. Like I just expected more. It's weighing the expecting more versus what he actually is and being like, hey, don't punish him because I thought he was going to be better in this. Now let's get into the top 10 prospects on my board. At number 10, it's Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia. I am really impressed by him. I think he honestly is getting dinged by a lot of people. And I do think some of it is because he's a safety. And he also didn't have the best year this year, like turnover production and stuff like that. But at safety, that's kind of hit or miss. It's not corner where you're one on one with a guy. Like safety, it's hit or miss on whether you're going to get production. That's just a fact. That's how it works, in my opinion. Like, if the ball comes his way, though, he makes a play on it. And he played a little bit of slot corner. Not sure that'll be his role in the NFL. I think he'll be more of a deep safety, but I had to notate it in there that he played some slot corner. So we'll see what he ends up ultimately being. At number 9, it's Will Campbell. Listen, I have him listed as interior or tackle. I think in my final rankings, he's going to be a tackle. With his length questions, that's part of it. But the other issue is, I really don't know. Man, he kind of plays a little high. Like he's 6'6", and he does play kind of upright. And I don't know how that'll work on the interior. And he right now gets hit. He's technically sound, but like power rushers knock him back, and he finally will recover and settle. But you don't want that on the interior. It's the same issues I had with Calvin Banks. And I don't know. Like Will Campbell's a weird player for me because you can see the upside with him. And if he was bigger, it might even eliminate some of his issues that he has at tackle. But he's not. He is the length he is. But then again, you look at him and you're like, all right, well, put him in at guard when you had like a Peter Skronsky, but he plays higher than Skronsky. And that is a question to me because if you play higher at that position and you get knocked back, you're right in the quarterback's lap. And that's a bigger issue than being at tackle and having a little more time to recover, which he does do a good job of settling, recovering, and anchoring before they get right to the quarterback. But man, he definitely gets walked back way more than you'd like against power guys. At 8, it's Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. I see him and Tyler Warren a lot closer, and I used to have Loveland ahead of Warren. Right now, I have Warren bumping him. You know, he did have the better year, let's just be honest. But a lot of Loveland's issues, in my opinion, were the quarterback. I mean, at the end of the day, Michigan didn't have a good situation there, and I think that hurt him quite a bit. At number 7, this is another guy that injury news will factor how his final grade ends up being. It's Josh Simmons, man. I am super high on this guy. He was awesome for Ohio State this year. His tape is incredible. He honestly would be a guy that I think could end up getting a first, like, top 10 grade for me. Right now he's a first round grade, but he could get a top 10 grade if he was completely healthy and finished the season and played better teams. Because although it's not his fault, he didn't play the top teams that Ohio State played this year. Like he started off against Oregon, got hurt against Oregon. He was good in that game, but that was the only upper level team that he played against. At 6, it's Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. You know what, man? He was kind of do it all. He did everything for that team. He was their top receiving target. He played a little bit of quarterback. Yeah, he carried the ball all the time as a quarterback. He was incredible, man. He was a fun watch. At number 5, it's Tet McMillan for me out of Arizona. I'm still high on Tet McMillan. I see a lot of people dropping him down. I really don't get why. Like, I'm not saying that he would be a top 5 pick in every class, but I think he's a first rounder in every class. And I don't see why people are so hard on him. I really like him. At number 4, it's Ashton Genty, the running back out of Boise State. Dude's awesome. It's just a matter of where he goes in the draft. Now, in mock drafts, I tend to drop him to the 20s a lot more because everybody's like, oh, the Cowboys are going to take him. The Cowboys are going to take him. I don't know. There's a strong chance he could be long gone by the Cowboys pick. But at the same time, in a mock draft, it's hard to do because the value of a running back's lower. And that's why, even though he's my 4th best player, I'm like, man, he might drop a little bit. At number 3, I have Abdul Carter right now. I'll be honest, this grade's probably not going to hold up. He's probably going to move up to number 2 for me because I do expect to give him, I think his athletic testing is going to be insane. So he's going to get a bump for that. But for me, I don't have access to like any of the game speed stuff. So I don't have that information. He looks like he's going to be electric. And if he tests at the combine or pro day, and he's going to be electric, in my opinion. And once he is, his grade's going to move up and he'll overtake Mason Graham because it is super close. But for now, Mason Graham, the interior defensive lineman out of Michigan, comes in at number 2. He's a guy that's not going to do great in the spring for a lot of people because he doesn't look like your prototypical defensive tackle. Like he has shorter arms. He's just not what they would call body beautiful, I think is the term I heard from Daniel Jeremiah. And it's something that's always stuck with me when he talked about it. He's not a body beautiful guy. He's just incredible as a football player. Like, He may not look the part, but he is awesome. At number one, it's Travis Hunter. I think he's going to end up having to play corner in the NFL simply because of the fact that it's harder to moonlight on defense than it is to moonlight on offense. So he's going to be a full-time corner who plays some receiver in the NFL, in my opinion. And I think that's just because it's the easiest way to utilize him and get the potential of him playing both ways and limiting snaps and all that, because he's not going to play as much as he played in college. There's absolutely no way. Now, I do have a few questions with him at corner. I think inside releases actually get him quite a bit, which is why I don't think he'd be a good slot corner. Like, he won't play down in the slot, in my opinion. He'll have to play out wide, which is okay. I mean, you want your valuable guys out wide anyway. But he struggles a little bit against inside releases. If he gets beat, that's where he's beat most of the time. But that's a minor critique. The bigger thing with him is size. He's a little bit underweight, in my opinion. And I do worry about him holding up in the NFL level. It's simple, man. Playing defense, you're going to take hits, you're going to give hits. At receiver, you can protect your body a little bit more. And since he's not going to be a full-time receiver, he's going to be out there having deliver hits, tackles. And at his weight, is he going to be able to hold up? That's my question. As a receiver, you can get out of bounds, you can go down, you can protect yourself. You know, he's just not going to have that ability playing corner. So is that going to become an issue for him? I don't think it will. That's why I'm putting him at number one. But it's like the one reason he would bust, in my opinion, is because he can't stay healthy. But that's it for our top 50. I made it through. It took me a few different takes. My throat's killing me right now. Like I said, I've been sick this week. So expect a Virginia Dynasty. There were supposed to be 2 episodes this week. That's going to be pushed back. The next one will come out next week at some point in time. This video will probably come out Saturday or Sunday. So that way it's out prior to the combine. And I don't know when the next one will be, because I'm going to take another day, at least 2, to recover, hopefully, to get feeling better. And then I'll record the rest of the Virginia Dynasty here. I have all the editing done. I just have to go through and do the voice work on it. And once my throat's feeling better, I'll be able to power through that pretty quick. Maybe tomorrow morning, we'll see, and it'll be out. But it's not coming out this week like it was supposed to. On the second channel, UNC is going to be coming out. That got pushed back. Same reason. I'm sick. It's a second channel. It's not my primary channel. It's not my, the main focus for me. But so that'll hopefully come out next week as well. We'll see. We got the combine, and I'm really excited for that. That'll impact these final rankings a lot, because information comes out about health, about character questions, about all sorts of different things. And I'm excited to see what ends up coming out from the combine and what we learn about these guys, because it has such an impact on their final grade for people like me. And, just based off of the fact that you get information that you didn't know before. Like, if the league is like, hey, this guy's a troublemaker, you find that out at the combine. Or, hey, he doesn't interview well. That's going to affect his final grade. I want to thank you for watching. Have a great day. I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out.